Thank you so much. So, yeah, pretty big agenda. Since we're 4 of us, we decided, since we're coming from Montreal, to make it, a really valuable and pack this session full of content and hopefully laughs, especially my part. So you are about to enter a mystical universe filled with inconsistencies and various types of abuse. Let's get this started with. So don't stress out trying to write the tool's name. So this presentation is about how to prepare a team and as individuals for capture the flag. There's no really relevant content, or what is relevant, I should say, is located at the end of the last slide. So everything there for you to write down. We also will provide the slides afterwards. So why am I talking about this? A little bit of credentials. As Sheriff said, introduced me, I'm a cybersecurity researcher at GhostCure, a co-founder of MontreHack, which are hands-on security workshops, so where we bring laptops and do CTF problems for 3 hours every month. This has been going on in Montreal for 4 years now, so 12 months a year. We never stop for Christmas or stuff like that, unless we have no presenters, which happens from like once or two since then. I'm also doing I'm the vice president of the training at NorthSec, which I'll talk about more at the end of our presentation. We'll really focus on the CTF first. I'm also in charge there of the Hacker Jeopardy, where we host a very entertaining and Hacker Jeopardy show where we, shame people on the stage, where we ask them tough questions that everyone knows the answer in the audience, of course, but people on the stage doesn't because they have the stage fright, which is really entertaining and fun. On the picture there's a hardware badge. This guy here, we have 2 of them to draw or to give away at the end of the session. So the first 2 questions will get a hardware badge, fully functional, 2 chips. I'll talk about them near the end of the night. All right. I have like other bragging items that I decided to skip since it will be a long night. So my CTF experience. Why am I relevant talking about CTF? Well, I'm of what I call the previous generation of CTF players. I'll come back to the generation concept later. I'm a founder of the Amish security group and a founder of the co-founder of the CISSP groupies, which is yeah. Amish security, of course, was kind of a haha, you cannot pawn an Amish, no electricity, no vulnerabilities, so we kind of found ourselves really funny about that. With the CISSP groupies, we kind of adapted the thing. We had the anonymous CISSP groupies theme, the troll CISSP groupies theme, the monocle, fancy CISSP groupies, and then the Nyan Cat one, which is more subtle, and then we had the CISSP grumpies. I think I fixed the French in my slides, but I haven't updated them, so damn HTML deck. Anyway, so I'll have a few titles in French, I guess. We have the cuir moustache, so leather mustache, CISSP, which is something you should not Google. So, focusing on the main topic for tonight, a CTF, what is that? So CTF stands for Capture the Flag, we've said it already, but it's not Capture the Flag like this. It's actually more like this, except that there's a little bit more cultural diversity in our type of CTF, but then again, not that much, So, yeah. This is actually the DEF CON, DEF CON finals, but what was the team name? Samurai CTF?
No, it's lead chicken.
Smoked lead chicken. Alright. Anyway, these guys blogged about how they won DEF CON CTF at some point, the DEF CON finals, which is a really hard to win and prestigious CTF. So actually, what are those CTFs? We should say it's more hacking games, but the kind of the CTF acronym stick, so we're stuck with that. But so hacking game, hacking puzzles, computer science puzzle or nerd puzzles. The fact being here that we're talking about games and not reality. So this is one of the biggest myths about CTF. It's not related to information security. This is not how real life you should approach these problems. So how do CTF work? They are done by creative and generous people who design scenarios and challenges because it takes a while to do good exercises of CTF. It's easy to do an insane puzzle that no one will solve, but to do one where you have the actual cues to get in, be engaged, think you can find the answer, and then find, oh, I tried this is not the way I thought it would be, but okay, and now, oh, I have another hint here, and then I can dig further and, spend a long time. There's also a bit of creativity involved in breaking the tools you are used with. So let's say you have a binary channel, crack me, for example, challenge. What you want to do is break the tools, the GDB debugger or the IDA Pro that the competitors will use so that they are out of their comfort zone. A lot of CTF challenges are built like that. Take people out of the comfort zone and the realistic stuff that they do daily or not. So how do they work? Participant arrive or log in, depending on if it's online or on-site. They look for flags and they submit flags to a scoring system. Any questions? So looking at, of course, the competitive aspect, there is a scoreboard all the time. We see the scores. At NorthSec, we hide the score for the last hour, so this is really cranking up the intensity of the event, because whenever you hear yelling when the scoreboard is hidden, then you know, oh, these teams did points, were they close to us, and there's kind of this mental game going on, which is really compelling and entertaining to watch as admin who doesn't really are engaged with the situation, which makes it funny. So those famous flags, what do they look like? Well, sometimes they look like flag, column, something, or there's some structure, JSON style thing, or even sentence, the flag is blah blah blah. But if you try the flag is and it doesn't work, try to put it in without the flag is string in it. And we had, this is a real life scenario where a participant came to the admin table and said, I tried your flag, it doesn't work, it's broken, check it on your side. And then the admin said, have you tried without the flag is? And the participant, let me get back to you. It's pretty funny, because when you're that close, you work like 8 hours on a problem. How did you not think of removing that part? But once you're so focused, this is the kind of stuff that happens. Or just a hash type length thing, which are really familiar. The downside to those types of flags is that you can look for them with regexes, and so people kind of not cheat, but go straight to the answers more easily, especially in forensics challenges and stuff like that. So as designers, we have to think about that. And also, strings. After a few CTFs, we tend to see them everywhere. We, decode all the base 64 we ever see in every web page we ever open. We look at our cookies and stuff like that. Oh, maybe that's a flag. Oh, no, I'm not in a CTF. So this is a quote of a friend of mine who told me at some point, life is a CTF. And I'm like, really? How can you be that serious? And then I realized, oh, it's the guy who's reverse engineered 2.AV media streaming protocol. So 2.AV is a French-speaking CBC.ca online streaming service because he wanted to have a Python client. So, okay, a command line client. He also reverse engineered a 3D printer cartridge because it has a protection to prevent rogue or do-it-yourself refills. So he reverse engineered the DRM scheme and broke it and published it on GitHub. So he sees everything as a potential flag, And last but not least, he reverse engineered his Cisco Catalyst switch because he wanted to run Linux on it and not the Cisco iOS Internet OS operating system. So this kind of guy finds that life is a CTF, So why participate? It's really important for me, and this is something I want people to get out with from here, this presentation. So first, and it's obvious, to learn. But then there is get out of your comfort zone constantly. So this is kind of you know, learning, but a bit like putting yourself in learning situations, to find a cool job. So my career has been, you know, the path has been done through people I've met at CTF. I got the work I do because of CTF. Reverse engineering first at CTF, and then getting a job and that kind of stuff. Because you don't learn that at university. Well, not the ones I went to. Find passionate talent. Now I hire people from CTFs, you know, and it's one of the good places to find people who are really into what they do. So for me, this is really an important aspect now, and I think for the next generation of people, where we are so used to gamification of everything. You know, we like points and games and stats, like when we play online, and CTF is kind of that. You know, we like competitive environment to improve, and so I think this is a very good way. And now when people tell me, hey, I want to work with you guys, it seems to be cool what you do, and I'm like, not asking for a resume or anything. I'm telling, what's your username on this CTF online board? I want to see your score and what type of challenge you solved. You know, so this is straight to the point, and you know, you get real value, real technical value. There's no like, oh, but I have so much, you know, I'm so friendly when I talk and, you know, entertaining. No, I get the, like, your talent, your passion. And of course to make friends. This is, I guess, not in the right order, didn't happen in that order. So this is a quote of a former boss of mine. I'll read it. More than half of our researchers have been met through CTFs. The competition context quickly highlights the technical and team playing skills of a potential hire. Gets better. Many of our researchers have behavior problems and drinking issues. Still, it is because of them that we can brag that we have the best security research team in Quebec. This was Pierre-Marc Bureau in 2013, at that time working for ESET Canada. And this is a picture of him. Incredible. Or maybe it's not him, I should say. This is filmed, right? Yeah. It wasn't, maybe not him. So back to CTFs. What are they? How are they built? And stuff like that. So there are several variants of CTFs. The NorthSec one is an on-site one, which has a scenario, so scenario-driven. It's not easy to find the challenges. Well, not easy. It's not that hard either, but it's not like one of those in the category is jeopardy board, and I'll have a screenshot on the next slide. So the different variants you can go through is cyber war. So this is usually red versus blue, or 12 teams once against another. Very popular type, especially with on-site scenarios. Hackfest ran a lot of cyber wars for several years. There is managed and unmanaged. So managed means they take care of your infrastructure and your cloud, and unmanaged means you take care of it. You bring your own servers. Boule de Cristal used to be like that. Crystal ball in Quebec. There is red versus blue, which is really two teams, and you're mixed and matched with people you don't know when you are blue and he is red and stuff like that. Sometimes there are little twists where they put spies in the teams, so you are working with a friend and you give him all the good passwords so that he can patch all the systems, and then later in the game you learn that he was a spy, and he's like, goodbye fellas, I was a spy, and he walks away with all the credentials, and you're like, oh, what did I do? Yeah, this was Laurent's role a few years ago. There's the Jeopardy board, I already mentioned. There's the JavaScript RPG one, I have a screenshot of it. It's a very intriguing, complex board. And there is the batshit insane one, which is just hard to understand, hard to grasp. You make points, but you're not really sure how you made them. And you know, sometimes you lose points, but you're not really sure why. And this is, ICTF is a famous one where there's a huge context around the CTF. It's a designed by PhD students. And so it's a very intricate game design with time ticks where certain exploits are negative scoring when you are in this state of the game and stuff like that. And so just figuring it out is really, it takes one team member just working on what's going on with the scoring. So here's a screenshot of the Jeopardy board. So DEFCON Quals is a classic example of such a CTF. The JavaScript RPG looks like that. Blade CTF is famous for being a JavaScript RPG style, and the funny thing is, like, the first year they did that, everyone was like, why am I like clicking on things in a web browser and not solving, you know, CTF problem? What is that? And because of the complaint and the yelling, they eventually released a Python client to list the challenges, and so people just like forgot about the whole Final Fantasy or Pokemon game and just like give me a shell to list the challenge and I'll work on the challenges. Forget the board, and no one used the board anymore.
You could die, killed by a troll every time I was looking for a challenge. You can die in that.
You can die in the online game? Yeah. Wow. So Laurent was saying for the video, you can die in the JavaScript game. So like when you want to reach a specific challenge which is hard to reach, it's a pretty sad and boring situation. But we had other players who were sure in our teams, who were sure that there was hidden flags with like 3 points, like no puzzle, no challenge, just like if you're in the right spot and you dig a plant or something like Zelda style, you would get a flag. And so he spent like all the weekend on, you know, walking around stuff. And we were all like, it's JavaScript, you could dump it and look at the attributes of the arrays and do something more technical. No, I like this game. I'm like getting used to it. Alright. You don't choose necessarily your team players, especially online where you have no team member limits. You won't say no to anyone. You just, hey, come on in, we'll be more, bring beer. And this is NorthSec. So this is kind of the back end of NorthSec. So this is not player facing. This is more what the admin are designing. But you see that there are kind of areas where we put easy challenges together, easy to discover, but then as you get deeper into the network, there are challenges that are hidden by other things that you need to pivot. And since we simulate the whole internet, it's easy for us to hide servers in certain countries and make, let's say, the nmap blocked from a certain path, but not from the other path. So if you have a shell in specific locations, you have more access to other stuff. And we reached a point when we had so much challenges that we needed a level designer. So this is the work of our level lord, Simon Carpentier, who integrates that with our custom discourse forum, where the challenges that are discovered are automatically posted on the discourse forum. So it's really, we kind of try to mix the gaming, the gamification with kind of a since it's 48 hours or more. It's a little less than 48 hours, I should say. So it's we start Friday evening and finish Sunday at noon, around noon, like 2 or 3 p.m. It mixes the style where you can have stuff like easy, quick to do, especially at the beginning of the game. But then there is more depth. If you do your network scan again at some point at other places, you will find other stuff. And once it's discovered by a team, the other team have access to it. So perks, so these are kind of twists that are added to specific styles of CTFs. So we have the on-site, so NorthSec is such an example. You need to be physically there. We don't have an online component where everyone in the world can play. You have off-site, which there is no online on-site portion. DEFCON Quals is such an example. And you have hybrid, so La Nuit du Hack in Paris is an example. I think Zero Nights is also another one, where you have people on-site and people can play online. Some have academic affiliation required, so Seesaw is such an example. In order to go to the finals, you need to be member of a university. And some have a maximum limit on team members, which is hard to enforce. Even at NorthSec, like people could, have a VPN and bridge people in, and I mean, we might notice, we might not. Oh, by the way, I think it's not in any of our slides. So NorthSec has been fully IPv6 since 4 years, since 4 years ago. Only IPv6 stacks, so maybe that's why we don't have that much people VPNing in and doing fancy network things, because only connecting to our network has been a challenge for many of the people who came, especially when VMware Workstation would do only IPv4 and stuff like that, you know. We recommend to, you know, understand your base OS really well and make sure it supports IPv6 correctly. And we use 802.1x, which doesn't simplify any of this. So, kind of topics that you can face in a CTF. You have exploitation, which can be subcategorized as web, system, and hardware embedded. There is cryptography. I like to split cryptography in generations because it used to be really crappy and simple, and now it's really intense, and I no longer do cryptography challenges because of that. I was pushed away by smarter people. But so the first generation was what I call cryptography, which is kind of, we changed a few letters here and there, but it still respects the English frequency of letters, so you do frequency analysis and mono substitution and stuff like that. And then you have enough information to figure out a little bit, and then, you know, from that information you can solve it. Or you need to do translation. So it was in Russia, and then you need to do translation, and then find, it's a famous text that you can find online, but they changed a few words, and then you do a diff of that, and then you get, you know, cryptography. And there used to be the mandatory of all CTFs is go through a state where you have an Enigma cryptography challenge, like all of them. And I remember because I keep the Windows only binary for Windows 95 that does the implementation of the Enigma that I still use, and whenever I find rotors or stuff like that, I always go back, run wine, pop that thing, and then try, is this an Enigma challenge? And we don't see much of these anymore. Second generation, so hashes, puzzle, hash cracking, password cracking, smaller or more complex puzzles, smaller RSA, stuff that is kind of easier to break. And then the current generation, custom crypto oracle attack, hash length extension attacks, and stuff like that. So if you want to be in the top tier, you need to familiarize yourself with what is called current gen attacks. So you need to be to know how to do a crypto oracle attack on a CBC AES with the padding attack. You need to be familiar with hash length extension attacks, and we have challenges about these on the Montreal website, and you can find good information online. But it's usually the type of stuff that you will find at least one in a large CTF like NorthSec. Reverse engineering, of course, pretty broad but pretty simple to or hard to subcategorize. Forensics challenge, networking challenge, for sure you'll face PCAPs and you need to be fluent in Wireshark and even T-Shark, so sometimes they'll do the tool breaking things I was mentioning earlier, is, we'll hide the payload but we'll split it on 1,000 packets so it's not doable by hand, so now you need to know how to script Wireshark, and for this you use T-Shark usually, and some Python glue code, or Perl if you're like me. Steganography, also mandatory steganography. You have recon, although recon sometimes can go too far. So for NorthSec, we used to have recon categories, but at some point some people knocked at some admin's door, personal home address, and the guy was not there, but it's his girlfriend who answered the door, and she got really scared about this thing. We do this for the challenge, and they were like, this is maybe going a bit too far for me, so we don't do recon anymore. We have, there is system hardening or race to root type of stuff, algorithms or programming challenges, lockpicking, and then you have the specialized platform, so kind of a 101 exploitation challenge, but on an OS you don't know or never used, or don't know the stack layout or the calling convention. So Android, iOS, HiQ, BSD or VMS, OpenVMS type of stuff. And then there's the category everyone likes, which is guessing. One day or another you face a pure guessing challenge and you're pissed. And the worst about the guessing challenge is when you can see the team that had the challenge and you're like, how come? Like, I've been looking at this for 4 hours, I don't have it, and like there's 12 other teams that solved it. And then once the CTF is done, there's a write-up eventually that goes online and you read it and you're like, oh my god, and it's like impossible, you need to guess or have instinct or like divine. Also there's the surprise, so sometimes the surprise is simply gone. Once you face your first Dvorak cipher, like where you encrypt the text content with a Dvorak keyboard layout, and this is the ciphertext. Once you face that once and you got it, or someone got it and told you, ha ha ha, it was that, you remember for all your life. And then every time you face code without a key or some cryptography stuff, you always try that Dvorak cipher because it takes 1 second to try, you know, and it might be that. So the surprise is gone and people have cheat sheets or checklists of stuff to check. Of course, this is another reason why it's getting harder. And the collective intelligence, so the write-ups, the fact that we get influenced by each other. Now, like people in the NorthSec, the flag craftsmith, whenever they hear about a vulnerability or some new attack technique on IRC, they're like, oh, we could turn this into a challenge, it would be nice. So there's this thing where you do kind of always on the lookout for new ways of doing great challenges. So now we're shifting gears. I'll have more of a personal of how I got into CTFs. So my little story, and mine started at a Montreal event called Boule de Cristal in French, so the translated crystal ball. A CTF that was unconventional in the fact that they didn't know what they were doing. They didn't even call it a CTF, it was a competition, hacking competition. They had one of the guys doing the computer stuff on the Music Plus, which is kind of our French MTV, was doing the, you know, the animator, I guess is the thing to say in English, I don't know. He was talking and we were like filmed, even though we were like on the room nearby the main conference, so we were filmed and we couldn't access their conference, so we were kind of isolated because we were, you know, scary young hackers. And it was weird, and they were always talking about there's a billion attacks going on, and always the billion number, and then they would show diagrams with like packets going and hitting a switch, and like, but these were like nmap running, like it was not attacks, it was like packets, but they didn't make any difference, you know. So we were like looking at this and like, oh, what have we got ourselves into? Everything was fully patched and even hardened, and we had to provide our own servers, and of course we provided fully patched, you know, port change, and we used like, this SMTP server might have vulnerabilities even though it's fully patched, so we'll use another one no one knows, like James SMTP, it's written in Java, so I guess it's safer, and using stuff like that, you know, obscure, we were taught Java at university, that's why we thought it was safer. We didn't know any better. And we had like 76 hours to pop as young, inexperienced students, fully patched boxes, and then after like 12 or 24 hours, they realized like we will not find anything besides XSS, which was new. No scanners scanned for XSS back then. People didn't even know about it, and the challenge designers didn't even understand what kind of vulnerability. They were like, okay, so you can steal someone else's cookie if you convince them to click on a link. That's it. Yeah, that's it. That's all. No RC, no shell. And so they wouldn't understand, and they wouldn't give points. Now you can win like 5K with XSS, you know, because it's important. But and so what they did is they dropped at some point really old OSs, like they dropped a box of Windows NT4, and they said like, okay, hack this now, you can do it. It's old, you can probably find flaws. And then when we found about it, because they didn't tell, so we had like the nmaps running constantly, making their billion attack number always larger. And when we found about the NT4, it was like every team, 20 team racing for the same NT4 box. And it was like metasploit, fighting each other and trying to... And at some point we were like just killing other shells. And like, okay, I think I have to change the wallpaper. Do it. Go. And we managed to change the wallpaper. This was like, ooh, and then we put our team name, and so everyone saw, oh, they changed, oh, these days, the good team. And at some point, like, Metasploit stopped working, and so we were sponsored by Core Impact, and then we started more drag and dropping, because Core Impact has a GUI, and we were like drag and dropping everything that affected NT4, waiting for a shell. It was just crazy. And so we thought we were good, even though we didn't win, because we thought, oh, they don't know how to organize. And then we decided, yeah, we kind of like this, you know, attack and hacking, doing it ethically, you know, being allowed to do it. And so we tried another CTF, Cypher CTF4, organized in Eastern Europe. We did it remotely, and we realized, oh my god, this is not what we thought we were playing. So here's our young team, full of hope. I'm in the green shirt. In 2008, no more Windows, finished. No more Nmap, Metasploit, or Core Impact. It didn't work. So we were like, we had the Wireshark going on, projected on the walls, and we see all of those exploits getting in. So it's an attack defense CTF. We would get a VM that we could decrypt on the day of the competition, and we wouldn't have root access to it. So we had to pop our own root access to be able to analyze what was going on, fix the vulnerabilities, and don't let the service go down, because if the service is not up, you lose points. And we found stuff like a web server written in PostScript, like the printer programming language. We had like a bunch of Perl. I spent like the day on Perl code. We found like crazy C-level or kernel module exploits that we were really not ready to face at that point. And the guy in the blue and the strip shirt, he was just like killing shells all day long. He didn't do anything else. He was like, just, I'm gonna get these guys out of our system. And we were analyzing the exploit on Wireshark and like reprogramming it from like, oh, this is the payload, we will do it, and then attack from our network, you know, because we couldn't understand the code we were analyzing. We were too inexperienced. And so I managed to find the scoreboard. So we were pretty at the bottom. We have like 5 points for offense out of 100. And 60 points for defense. I guess they were attacking someone else, or our shell killing strategy worked. And you know what? We kind of sucked, but we liked it. Like, forget what I tell about Bullet Crystal Ball. We like didn't understand any of what was going on. We felt violated, but it was like, there's so much to learn. There is so like 8 programming language on the same server, and I know like 1 or 2 of them. There's so much stuff going on. I want to dig more into that. And then we did a lot more CTFs. So Hack Us, Hackfest, DEFCON Quals 18 is the first one we played as a team. ICTF, we played like 4 years, 5 years. Seesaw, and then kept doing those every year. Hack.lu, played CTF, which is also called PPP. CTF, Mozilla CTF, and then we kind of moved on to organize our own NorthSec. So we also involved the family members. So this is my daughter here, like this 4 years, yeah, 3-4 years ago with her Tiger computer. And you can see Guillaume still in Wireshark. So he didn't change his tools or technique. We played an ICTF, which is the one I was telling you was really complex. These are all the game states that, and you would do negative or 0 scoring in some states and positive scoring in some other states, and you could predict the other states based on the digits that you see there. And François, who's working at Shopify now, is with us. was the one, you know, spending his time and focusing on, guys, I think when we use that exploit in that time, I think it's good for us. And with his thinking and his scripting, we actually managed to be first Canadian team for a few years, but 1 year in particular where it was the first one, and we were like, oh my god, you're a semi-god to understand this thing. And so we really enjoyed and liked ICTF, but then it degenerated. We lost control of it all to some extent. And we had the Bilodeau peak happen in Hackfest 2011, where we kind of, the bomber joke here for those who know about XKCD. It was me, I started yelling like at 2 p.m. in a conference about, you know, bad jokes, but yeah, so they made a comic out of my behavior. So, shifting gears, here's a list of advice for you to lose at every CTF. I encourage you to lose at every CTF, you'll see why, but... So these are what you must do to lose. Stay alone. Never a group with anyone. Being on your own is better, always. Use script kiddie tools only, so Nmap, Metasploit, and use Backtrack and Kali. You know, these are the hacker tools. Don't change, don't learn scripting languages. Never read write-ups, because, you know, write-ups is like other people's experience. You better build your own, you know. Never train, because talent is innate. You should be good at hacking. It's not something we never practice. We are good at it. We're born with it, right? Never bookmark good tools, because, you know, Google finds everything, especially old stuff from like ages ago. Google will remember, and stuff is never taken offline. You know, Google remembers it all. So, and never share with your team members, fellow team members. Don't communicate. Don't discuss the challenges after a competition. You know, go straight home. This is not for fun. It's about yourself. Never participate on IRC or Slack, like the RingZer0 CTF online community, where you can, you know, practice and share stuff. But don't do that. Never imitate your heroes. So this is NorthSec's founder, Gabriel Tremblay, which is with his doppelganger, Dino Daisovi. So Daisovi is a pretty famous, it's kind of an inside joke, but we still use that image as in CISA CTF, where Daisovi is a judge. We sent them that picture because they actually met in person at some black hat when everyone was drunk. Don't go off the beaten path, and this is an advice, personal advice. This is a picture of a flag I took while I was talking to an admin in a CTF, on-site CTF. He was like, I was telling him, I have the flag, I'm just missing 1 or 2 characters, give it to me. And he was like, nope, you don't have it. What does it start with? And I start saying letters, and he said, nope, this is not the flag. And so I see him looking and telling me, nope, this is not the flag. So I go back, pick my cell phone, come with the camera turned on, and then I lean, click, take the picture of the flag, and then go away. So I have a picture of the flag, and I kind of cheated. But I guess, yeah, you know, the flag is the flag. Don't ever do a gin and tonic in a coffee pot. It's a lot. So this is actually the only real piece of advice so far. Never code or learn to code. I already mentioned it. Don't use other people's tools or notes. It's better to, you know, do it all on your own. The link is at the end in the slides, but it's all my bookmarks. They're all public, of all my CTF participation and the tools I use and the stuff I found on the internet. Participate only when you're certain of winning. We never learn when losing, right? But more seriously, losing is better, definitely. Have a muse. This is our muse. Find a spot to train. Any spot. So physical presence trumps online presence. So this is the toilet of our spot, which is called the Full Lab. Still better than you know, being online. So here it's a nice venue. I think it's free, so it would be a good place to train and found a group of doing, you know, CTF challenges. So this is other places of Full Lab. We had actually a pretty cool spot. The toilet is really the only weak spot of full app. Fellow participant, this is several years ago. François was printing Yoda when he was thinking about challenges, you know, tweaking 3D printers. I don't know how his brain works, but he did points. This is all that matters. Don't despair, like François did. After 10 hours on a challenge, started to despair. Explain your challenge to your peers. So this is always good, like we all do. So for the people who earn their life programming or do IT troubleshooting, this is the same advice. You just need to put your brain in an explaining, switch context, and then you're like 80% of the chances you won't even say a single thing to help you. You on your own will find, oh, I haven't tried that, and then he'll say, yeah, I can do that anytime you want. I will help you like that. Did nothing.
Talk to the duck.
The duck? Alright, didn't get that reference. Build your own toolchain. So this is an example of my own toolchain. What I do is I do a programming scratchpad. So I do the simplest example, specific example, be it Python, C code, R code, assembly, and I put it on a GitHub. I use this wonderful indexing tool called grep to find the snippets based on what I face for challenges. And all of the InfoSec stuff is here also. So I have crypto, Java, PHP exploitation, ELF binary, tips, forensic, GDB, PGP. When you have a PGP key, you need to remember, oh yeah, what's the file format of PGP? You can of course go read RFCs and stuff like that, but you can have, oh, I used that code 8 years ago kind of stuff. So this is what I've been doing, and find your own way of documenting your own past experience, but use it and leverage it. And same as the link I provided earlier for the bookmark. So this is like, I have like more than 10 bookmarks about security, and this is all tagged. Like I use Pinboard, but you can use any bookmark tool you want. The key being you need to have a powerful keyword search. Lose at the harder CTFs. So this is how you understand and develop reflexes, and also when you read the write-up, you remember, because you'll be like, I spent 8 hours on this thing. I haven't seen my family because of this challenge. I'll remember this flaw for sure. And then you forget the next time. But you'll see also trends in challenge styles. So this is especially true if you participate in remote CTF versus local CTF. So of course, let's say OWASP has a CTF next year, they'll be inspired by the things that the broader internet community does. So you'll see trends, and you'll have a head start when facing problems. So another thing to think about also is that these are games, they are not real, so you need to forget about what's likely or realistic. Sometimes it will just be insane, and it will be, I filtered this character and not this other one just to piss you off, So this is the type of stuff you need to think about. And think about, there's one way to do it. Leverage the admin whenever you can. So the admin are the challenge designer. They want you to succeed. They put countless hours, but their goal is not, ha ha ha, no one did my challenge, because this is a bad challenge. A challenge unsolved is not a well-designed challenge. So they want people to succeed. If you show progress, or that you tried, and tell them what you tried, likely they will say, oh, we don't give hints, we don't give hints. They will definitely at least nudge you in the right direction. And this is true for NorthSec, although they don't admit it, and they say at the beginning, we don't give hints and stuff like that. If you show effort, and you show that you are working on it, and you try hard, and you haven't just like scanned it and stuff, they will help you. This is especially true for on-site CTF, but it is also true for online CTF. We've been able to, talk on IRC to people and be able to, and sometimes there are bugs, sometimes it's not even, it's a real problem, so they need to be aware. So to push even further, you can train and build a legacy for your team. So training new people, the best way to improve your own skills is teaching. So doing is one thing, but teaching means you really need to understand fully what's going on. Montreal is our group, and I present this not for you to come, you know, on a weekday in Montreal, although that's what we just did, but for more to be inspired by the way we built this group and maybe copy it. You know, we don't have any, you know, we don't want to brand this or sell it. We can copy the recipe. We've been doing this for 4 years. We have like around 40 people every month, and we solve the problems together. We give hints for people not to get stuck, and we try to do big and hard challenges that way. And I'm happy to talk about our formula, or you can go see the website. We have an archive with all the past challenges. There's a same kind of thing in Quebec going on, and finally have fun. So this is one of the CTFs in Hackfest, where we can recognize François, the two François that are there. So we were kind of late to the beginning of the CTF, you know, door open at 7, and we were like, grabbing stuff from our room. I'm not the best one with my memory, because I drink too much, but this is what I think we were doing, and we're late, but then the elevator stuck, and so we're like, damn it, we'll be late to the beginning, we'll miss the instructions and stuff like that. And one of the guys in there who was actually facing us, so a guy from another team, had a crate of beer, and we decided, hey, you know what, or was it yours, or, no, it was the guy, yeah. And we're like, oh, let's cheer, we're stuck in the elevator, and then we all popped a cold one and started singing and like drinking. And so when we arrived at the competition site, we were all already like, hey, all cheering and having fun. So this is the goal of CTF, it's just to enjoy it at least, to make it fun and learn, you know, a few things. Another anecdote I have about having fun is at Hackfest again. I went to the bar and said, I'll have, the barman says, you want the same thing? I'm like, yeah, of course, 4 gin tonic. And then he served us, and he asked me, so what rank you are in your little competition? And I'm like, we're first. And he said, what? You're the only one coming and drinking at the bar, and you're telling me you're first? And so we were like proud of that a little bit, like, oh yeah, I guess the magic is in the drinking. But this is for the previous generation of CTFs. This is no longer something you can achieve, I think. With that, I'll pass the mic to Laurent, who will introduce you how to optimize a team.